Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. StrangeNet here. So it has been a little bit of time since I did a video last. I haven't given up making videos, especially for Eve. I've just been having a little bit of a break, decided to take a bit of a step back. Done a lot of semi-negative videos recently and basically just wanted to step back, reevaluate and decide what and how I was going to go forward from there. So rest assured, I'm not gone. I've just been having a bit of a break and a reset. So a lot has been happening in Eve over the last, well, while. And one of the previous videos I did was about the Siege Green and the changes to auto integrity units. And this one I've been keeping an eye on this because obviously I made a prediction and a lot of people disagreed with me in some capacity. And it's always interesting to reanalyze them. The point being that these were changed to give you 3 items per build. So basically, the blueprint was changed to make the items slightly quicker, and it would also now give you 3 auto integrity preservation seals instead of 1. Now, calculated basically the amount of people that would be needed in order to keep the market supplied with these, and it went down from, I can't quite remember what it was, and I'm not bothered to work it out, but it went down from quite a good number of characters with 10 slots to obviously a third of that, and then less still, because at the time I predicted that obviously there wouldn't be a huge increase in the supply or the demand because ships wouldn't be being blown up, yada yada yada. Now, obviously that has coincided as well with subscriptions increase and the rest of it, but regardless, I was pretty much on the money. And again, in order for the same amount of people to be building to supply the increase in the amount, you'd need 3 times the consumption, and the prior consumption was about in the 45,000 region, and now we're looking at 62,000. So we've had a very small percentage increase in the amount of units on average being used. Yes, we do have a few spikes. This is when it first went live, and we've got 1.7 there, but for a 3-fold increase, we'd need 120,000 units a day to be being used in Jitter, and that's just not happening at the moment, and I'll be surprised if that really ramps up. And some of this isn't just due to awesome speculation on my part. Some of it is due to the fact that battleships and the rest of it are still roughly at the same price they were, and some of them have even gotten more expensive. Now, I don't know if the Abaddon is one, so it's dropped slightly for these, but nothing substantial. Have a look at the Rattlesnake. Oh, we've had a decrease in the faction ships, but all in all, prices are steady, and this is because a lot of the drop in the cost of the integrity units and the life support has been offset with the fact that you still need a good amount of gas cloud inputs for these, so that is still keeping the price higher. So the auto integrities aren't being used as much. Again, I still don't expect destruction to all of a sudden surge because chips are a couple of somewhat cheaper, and that's generally being shown in the graphs and the rest of it. So I suppose that was a 3-minute ramble there to tell you that, yeah, I was right in the end. I didn't expect these things to surge, and that basically CCP nerfed them to the point where they're now, they're not great to make, and it's easy to flood the market with a handful of characters. You can probably do it with 3-4 characters, maybe a bit more. But before, you needed a lot more characters in order to be able to give the amount of make the amount of materials needed to sustain the market in Jitter specifically. So that was one of the big reasons why last time I was hating on the fact that Siege Green had changed these items, because, and again, this point was taken and misunderstood again to an extent, that if before you needed, we'll say 50 characters with 10 slots, banging these out again and again and again, day after day, in order to sustain the market. If all of a sudden you only need 10 characters now, you've now got 40 characters surplus. And then 40 characters are now going to go and build other stuff. And if they're building other stuff, that squeezes the market for other items. Because these 40 characters aren't just going to be sitting there doing nothing. They're now going to be doing, I don't know, light missile launchers or heavy missile launchers or other things. So, yes, it's dropped the price. And as I reiterated numerous times, I have no problems with the price dropping. There were better ways of doing it than basically just adding 3 with the same amount of materials and the rest of it. But it's the fact that you can now build them so much quicker. And that has an effect on the rest of the market because, as I say, them extra 40 characters are now doing other things. I'm not building these all of a sudden, so I now have 40 slots which are going to be taken up building other items, which other people that were building, say, light missile launchers are now going to be squeezed more, and this just shrinks the profit margins and the availability of items that people can now produce a profit on because these markets have shrunk. And this has been a problem with Citadels and the rest of it, that the time to build stuff has been shrank continuously. You know, Citadels give a huge bonus to production speed time over what the old posses used to do and stations. Now everybody builds in Citadels and that because you get bonuses for all sorts of stuff. But the main one being, or what affects the market most, is the fact that you can build stuff quicker. And if you can build it quicker, you need less people to be producing to fill the market gaps and everything else. So I don't like to see this continual shrinking of the time it takes to build stuff. And to some extent, I would like to see it expanded more than shrank, because that gives more people margins to get into industry. And the argument always comes up that, well, you know, I've got X amount of alts, why I'd just add more alts to cover more markets. And again, it doesn't always work like that, because having alts and using your alts, and anybody who does this at scale will find that it becomes very, very tedious just adding more alts. And it gets to that point where it's just not worth it, or it's not worth the hassle that, you know, having to log in 10 alts every couple of days to do invention it's not a great deal of fun. It's laborious, it's tedious, and that somewhat prevents. Yeah, and as I said before, there's always the odd nutter that is quite happy to log in 50 characters a day to do X, Y, and Z, but these people are few and far between, and again, gets to the point where it becomes harder to remember. You've got to start creating spreadsheets to remember which alts are doing what's finishing when, and the more alts you add, the more tedious it becomes and the more of a job it becomes. So people generally stop at a certain amount of alts because, well, it's just harder to manage. It's just too hard to manage. And therefore, you know, expanding markets to have more players be able to participate is good for the general health of the game. You want more people involved in things. You don't want, and again, you know, this happens often. People look at industry, look at a couple of items and go, well, there's no profit here, so don't bother. And there's numerous people who watch the channel, or have watched, or currently who've thanked me over the time to say, you know, I didn't realize you could do anything with industry, and that it was just a dead area of the game, and that you've shown me that you can do it. And again, this gives people another outlet of A, to make ISK, and B, just another facet of the game that they can enjoy. And again, manufacturing isn't for everybody, and you know, playing the spreadsheet game isn't for everybody. But some people do enjoy it, but they haven't participated in it because they didn't think they could do it. And again, the more that market shrinks and the faster things are to make, the less people are able to participate. Because the likes of the bigger suppliers and the manufacturers are already there with their grip on the overall system. Because, for instance, I can take making a smaller margin on the auto integrities because I'm doing it over so many alts. If I only make 10k per run, it doesn't matter because I'm doing it at such scale where if you've only got one account, then you're looking to maximize the amount of ISK that you're bringing in from that one account, and therefore you wouldn't bother with the auto integrity seals, for instance, because it just doesn't make a big enough return. So yeah, the constant making and again, I don't want things just to be made longer and more laborious for the sake of it, but again, shrinking stuff and making it all quick. And I don't remember when it was 10 years ago, it might have been slightly less, that all the a lot of the BPOs, I think it was battleships for instance, had the time it took to manufacture shrank. The time now to do invention has shrunk. Before, if you wanted to make like missile launchers, for instance, I'll just take this as a base, that you would have to do a copy. The copy would have to be a max run copy. So you would have to do a BPC that had, I don't know what it is for missile launchers. We'll say it's a 300 minimum max copy. And that max copy, you couldn't do 300 runs from it. It would only do one run, and that one run then would produce you the 10 run BPC for invention, assuming it worked. But that means that basically you had to have alts that were continuously just printing out BPCs, because obviously a 300 run light missile launcher BPC takes a time to research or to research to kick out the BPC, and then it was burnt up. And therefore, where now I can run one 300 run light missile launcher copy times 10, and that will last me for weeks, depending on how many I'm producing over the course of however long. But before, I needed more characters, and that took them characters out of being able to do other stuff. And that therefore, so to say, left gaps in the market for other people to come in and fill, and so on and so on. And so this constant shrinking of things to make it quicker, and it's not even more streamlined, it's just faster, which it just cuts people out of the market and being able to get into the market. And I find that quite frustrating and annoying at the moment. And that seems to be, and one of the issues I suppose that we have is with a shrinking player base, even though with a shrinking player base, it gives people that opportunity to make more ISK. But yeah, with a shrinking player base, I guess you need faster times. But this has been going on for years. It's not been recently. So this constant shrinking down, whether it's a nerf to industry, who knows, or what the actual overall goal is. But yeah, I don't like to see this shrinking amount of manufacturing time continuously being shrank. I'd like to see it expanded somewhat. And again, I think a great example of that was the I don't remember which system was, but it was the World War B2, and it was Pandemic Horde, and they were trying to take over a keep star, and goons were able to basically just produce Raven after Raven after Raven. And that's because a Raven takes like 2 hours, and I imagine in a keep star with manufacturing this, that, and the other, it takes even less. So you're able to build a Raven every hour. Now, I know obviously Jitter is only one system, but even at 2 hours, so basically if it takes me 2 hours from a BPO to produce a Raven, I can produce all the Ravens that are going to be required in a 24-hour period. 24, 12. I need four BPOs will basically do the entire Jitter market for Ravens. And that's not assuming it makes a profit or not, that's just quantity. So 4 BPOs saturates the whole of the Forge market, or sustains the entirety of the Forge market, which I find nuts. And it's like, that's 4 BPOs. And yeah, you've got other ships, etc., but that's one battleship. That's a battleship. It's the biggest T1 sub-carrier, sub-capital ship that you can build, and I can saturate the market with 4 BPOs. So yeah, I'm not a happy bunny when it comes to making things quicker, as you can tell, I'm sure. But so I think we'll generally round it up there. Again, this video is just putting some stuff out there, literally saying that I am back, I haven't left, I am still making videos, and that I just wanted to step back for that period of time, reevaluate. I do love this game. This game I still believe is amazing. Yes, it has its warts, and I love it for its warts as much as anything else, but I will be making more videos in regards to EVE content that are hopefully on a more positive note, and trying to, promote the game that I have had so much enjoyment out of, and again, I hope you guys do too. So with that, thanks for your time, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you again soon.